Hello, I'm Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and welcome to this series of spiritual dilemmas, which I'm talking about everyday life and our spiritual practices. Hello, I'm Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and today I'm going to be talking about what it means to have a sacred body. Now, when I was thinking about this, it was like, oh, this is going to be easy, and then it's like, wait a second. There's a lot of dilemmas here. There's a lot of challenges when we think about having a sacred body. But when we break it down into simple little pieces of principles, in a sense, then it becomes more clear. So for instance, to begin with, I should say, a foundational principle for me is that everything is spiritual. Life is spiritual. The trees, the dogs, everything, every cell of your being is spiritual. Every cell of every leaf, every cloud is full of spiritual energy, because we are all of spirit. We are all of universal oneness, source of all that is. Now, that's a principle that I live by. And so if that's true, that everything is spiritual in nature, that means my body is spiritual in nature as well. And what is spiritual, in a sense, is sacred. Now, these are all principles, and you have to come to decide what's the right principles for you, and which ones you actually want to live by. Quite often there's a lot of principles that we will say, here's the principles, but I don't actually live by them. I live by fears, my principles of fear, or I have to get what I want, or principles that aren't in alignment with the idea that life is sacred and everything is sacred. So that's something that I'm going to ask of you, is to be open to seeing and experiencing for yourself what are those principles that you really are aligned to. By the way, I would love, if you haven't already, would love you to subscribe to my video series and in my channel, and also give me a thumbs up if this particular idea is of value to you. And please leave some comments below too, in terms of what spiritual principles are important to you. So, our bodies, what it means to have a sacred body. So if everything is spiritual, and therefore everything is sacred, then my body is sacred, and every cell of my being is sacred. And what it means then is, how do I live in alignment with that specific spiritual principle in terms of how I be with this body? So there's also spiritual principles that says this body is just a vehicle that is my transportation device to get from where I started as a little tiny cell to the end of life, when I will be leaving this body, this vehicle. So this is my transformational and transportational device. And how I see it then is, do I honor it as that, or do I use it? Well, we're all using it, but do we use it with honor and respect, or do we abuse it? So what it means to have a spiritual body, and to see ourselves as spiritual, living in this spiritual body, is each one of us is going to have a different sense of that. And again, part of the intention for me of having these videos and doing these videos is so that you can think about and look for yourself, and to see what's true for you in terms of how you be with this sacred vehicle, this sacred transportational device. So quite often in spiritual traditions and religions, we beautify statues. We beautify in a way of revering this body, as opposed to, and in that revering, it's to enhance and beautify, but also to bring out the most essential aspects of who we are. And quite often, instead of beautifying from that place of reverence, we beautify from a fear of that we're not beautiful enough, or we don't have enough this, or too much of that, and so we do enhancements or nose jobs or facelifts, so that because we come from a place of fear. So one of the things that it means to be with this sacred body is to look at how we see this body, and we see it as ourselves rather than it's our transportational device. I just got a new car a few months ago, and this new car is a 2004 Lexus, and it's got over almost 200,000 miles on it. Now, that it's a Lexus and it's a luxury vehicle for me makes me feel delightful to get into this vehicle, this transportational device. And at the same time, it's got scratches, it's got things that are going on that are totally okay with me. And as I get older, and I notice things sagging, and I notice that the bottom line is that those elements of this transformational, I keep calling it a transformational device, but this transportational and transformational device, it keeps sagging, and it keeps doing things that make me look like I don't want to look. But if I separate myself, and this is a sacred body, this is a sacred vehicle, and I'm inside, what I need to do is honor that and take care of this vehicle, but also be aware of that when I honor who is inside this vehicle, that I'm more in alignment with who I am. I'm more in alignment with what I know to be true in terms of spiritual principles, spiritual practices, and I'm more in alignment with the sacredness of this experience that I'm having within this body. So I'll leave it at that for now. But again, what I'm emphasizing here is, how do we be in relation to this sacred vehicle? How do we be in relation to the sacredness around us? And our consensus view of reality doesn't support so much that perspective. So it's really important that we begin to look at that for ourselves. I truly believe that every one of us is dealing with this dilemma, like, how do I be in this sacred body, but at the same time see how the world is treating me as who I am. Again, I'd love you to subscribe to this video series, subscribe to my channel, and give me a thumbs up if you would, and please leave some comments of what's valuable for you from this work. All right, bye for now.